Welcome to week 13, take 2. The first time that I wrote this, I commented how this was going to be a long video. Smartly, I decided to rewrite the entire thing on Tuesday night, while the jokes and what I'd written were still fresh in my mind. So yeah, it's still going to be a long video. Of course, maybe you just looked at the runtime and figured that out on yourself and said, what the hell can he be talking about so much to make such a long video? In this week's high score and biggest blowout, Lee's Tanking for Golf knocks off Nick's Hootie and the T-Blowfish 132.7 to 84, a 48.7 point margin of victory.
You did it! Congratulations!
I'm so proud of you.
Lee, you beautiful bastard, you finally did it. This calls for a celebration. It's a big hat. If I had a noisemaker kazoo thing, I'd totally be tooting it right now in your honor of your win, but I couldn't find one. In the final top score eligible week of the 8th season of the league, you actually won some money and have killed off one of the longest standing memes in the league history.
I hope you're happy.
Of course, you had a little help from the man upstairs this season.
What can I say except you're welcome?
Wrong God, but close enough. You get the idea. Lee, you were led to the promised land this week by your wide receiver group, getting 34.4 points from Devontae Parker, 26.7 points from Robert Woods, and 21.4 points from Davante Adams. And Dak Prescott tossed in 25.7 points to boot. You did manage to survive a triplicate of 2-point games, getting 2 points and change from Carlos Hyde, the Jets defense, and Hunter Henry. But I'm sure you don't really care that much. For Nick, you got 20.2 points from Tyler Higbee, 16.6 points from Matt Ryan, and 13.6 points from Leonard Fournette. Your biggest disappointment this week has to be the healthy Tyler Lockett getting no catches on 3 targets in a game that Seattle scored 37 points in. Nick, despite the loss, I'm sure you don't really mind too much either, since even with the loss, you maintain your top 2 position and head into the postseason with a first-round bye. In the week's closest matchup, Brandon's blown call defeats Pope 2.0's Pew Pews 110.94 to 110.58, a tiny .36 point margin of victory. Brandon was led this week by 19.5 points from Patrick Mahomes, 17.6 points from DJ Moore, and a trio of 13-point games from Josh Jacobs, Calvin Ridley, and Jason Myers. For Pope 2, your squad was led by 23.5 points from Josh Allen, 19.1 points from James Washington, 17.6 points from Devin Singletary, and 15 points from Joe Mixon. Certainly nothing to sneeze at there. This one was super close, and you could have swung either way, but if you were looking to get a win, I would have been looking at the decision to start Minnesota's defense at Seattle, a notoriously hard place to play, instead of Tennessee's defense at Indianapolis. That decision cost you 11 points and sends you on to a bye in the deuce bracket. Of course, what do I know? I'm in the deuce bracket with you after all. In other matchups this week, Drew's Run CMC knocks off Chris's 2 men in a defense 112.4 to 85.2. Drew got a solid 28.1 points from Aaron Rodgers. Following that up were 5 other players who put up between 15 and 11 points, led by Cooper Kupp. Really, the only negative on your roster this week was the Philadelphia defense, who scored only a single point in the loss to the high-powered Miami Dolphins offense. What the heck happened in... Oh, Ryan Fitzmagic had one of those games. For Chris, you got 20 points from Cole Beasley, 18 points from Todd Gurley, and 16.9 points from Russell Wilson. Warning! The next clip, some viewers may find disturbing. Since I'm assuming that Lee will be showing this video to his grandkids in 25 years, you may want to look away at this time. Still, I need to throw the punchline in before the video clip. Chris, you were likely in a food coma on Thanksgiving and were unable to get Julio Jones out of your lineup when he was declared inactive. Because of that, you got 0 points.
Gobble gobble, motherfucker.
Also sucking for you this week, Jonathan Williams of the Colts managed only 25 yards and a catch for 3 points, and the normally reliable New England defense got housed by Houston and only scored 2.4 points. Josh's Please Not Last Again defeats my Melvin Gordon Bombay 102.2 to 94.7. First off, Josh, congrats on the win. With it, you clinch your first playoff spot since the glorious year 1 in league history when you won a championship. I can't knock that, even as much as I'd like to. You got 28.4 points from Deshaun Watson, 20.4 points from Chris Carson, and 18.4 points from D.D. Westbrook. It's only fitting that I lost this week after I spent much of last week bitching about scheduling since I hadn't had a single loss where I'd score less than 100 points. Fantasy Gods fixed that one up real quick for me. Over the last 6 weeks, I lost 5 out of 6 games to promptly blow my 99.6% chance at a playoff spot. Feels bad, man. It feels so bad that I asked my wife to make me a dunce cap to wear during this bit. As you may have noticed, it says dunce, but the N is crossed out. Even my wife is giving me shit about this collapse and trying to put the deuce bad juju on me. Only one proper response to that shit show of a finish.
Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You're cool. And fuck you, I'm out.
I got 25.3 points from Lamar Jackson, 16.3 points from Jack Doyle, and 15.8 points from Keenan Allen. I spent much of last week trying to decide which running back 2 I should play, and I eventually went with what 2/3 of the experts were saying and opted to start Jamal Williams instead of Darius Geis. That fuck-up cost me a solid 20 points and a shot at the postseason. So yeah, gonna be kicking myself about that one for a while.
Looks like fun. Wish I could have some.
Jason's I Was Saying Boo Earns defeats Alex's Funkle Up 114.5 to 83.5. This matchup's leading scorer for both teams came in at the QB position, and each starter scored almost identical points to cancel each other out. Jason's Carson Wentz put up 24.4 points to Alex's 24.34 points, a whopping 0.06 of a point difference. Jason won this matchup at the wide receiver position, getting 21.4 points from Cortland Sutton, 18.6 points from Allen Robinson, and 13.4 from DeAndre Hopkins. Alex was unable to keep pace there, getting only 7.9 points combined from Emmanuel Sanders and Jamison Crowder. Alex, you could have snagged a win here had you opted to get Larry Fitzgerald in your lineup for Jamison Crowder and James White in for Phillip Lindsay. White's 33.7 points were the second most points this week, which you left riding on your bench. Basically the same thing I did with Darius Geis, except for his 29.7 points were the fourth highest.
Suck it.
Last week, I did correctly call out that if Alex lost this week to Jason, he could fall all the way down to a deuce bye, which is exactly what ended up happening. And finally, Derek's Freeman fuck-up project knocks off Pope 1.0's to deuce or not to deuce, 123.4 to 118.4. This was quite the slugfest. Derek's winning squad had 5 players score at least 17 points, led by the New Orleans defense's 20 points on Thanksgiving evening. Miles Sanders added 19 points, Julian Edelman added 18.9 points, Zeke Elliott 17.2 points, and Will Lutz with 17. Pope 1, however, had the top 2 scoring players in this matchup, getting 26.8 points from Kenny Galladay and 25.1 points from Derrick Henry. I'm sure Pope 1.0 isn't really concerned with the loss, considering he still goes into the playoffs as the number 1 overall seed, but getting only 5.1 points from Aaron Jones and 2 points from Tevin Coleman is probably not ideal, especially while Rashad Penny is sitting on your bench, wasting away with those 24.7 points. Time for a playoff primer.
And now for the main event.
Up here in the championship bracket, we have Pope 1.0 taking the number 1 overall seed. Nick grabs the second bye behind him. They both get the week off, so I think Nick was going to suggest a possible kicker-only wager this week to make it interesting to watch the rest of us fight it out from their bye week pedestals. In matchup number 1, number 3 seed Drew takes on number 6 seed Josh. This is quite the interesting matchup. For Josh in the 6th seed, this is about the best matchup he could possibly ask for, as his record versus Drew is an impressive 6-1 all time, his best record against any one owner. One of those wins came earlier this season in week 4. Since that matchup, these two teams did make a trade in which Josh's starter in week 4, Aaron Rodgers, is now Drew's starter, and Drew's previous bench quarterback, Deshaun Watson, is overstarting for Josh. Guess we'll see who gets the better end of that trade. In matchup number 2, number 4 seed, Chris will be taking on number 5 seed, Derek. Another interesting matchup as these two battled it out back in week 8, with Chris coming out on top 128.6 to 127.8, less than a point separated them at the time. Overall, Chris has the better record against Derek, holding a 9-2 all-time record, but one of those 2 losses previously came in the playoffs. And then there's the deuce bracket.
The enthusiasm. I love the energy here. But we're looking at this thing here the wrong way. Well, let's start to celebrate the good times that was Joe's. We gotta start looking at this Irish wake style.
Down here, we have Pope 2.0 as the top overall seed in the deuce bracket, thus bookending the playoffs this year with a pair of Popes. Also grabbing a deuce bye is Alex, as previously mentioned. Deuce matchup number 1 features myself versus Jason. I do have a better track record versus Jay overall, sitting at 8-2 all time, but one of those 2 losses did come during a playoff run. So thanks for that, I appreciate it. I did take the win over Jason earlier in the season, getting a 50-point win in week 3, back when I had a somewhat healthy roster. James Conner, Austin Hooper, and T.Y. Hilton all played in that game and have all missed the last month. I don't foresee them coming back this week, and even if they do, who knows how much they're actually going to play. You, on the other hand, that week had bad games from DeAndre Hopkins and Saquon Barkley, both who have turned their season around as of late. This should be a close one. As it currently sits, I'm favored by 3/4 of a point. Deuce matchup number 2 features Moneyman Lee taking on Brandon. Lee currently holds a 5-4 record over Brandon all time with no previous playoff matchups. These two played a very close game in Week 11 with Brandon pulling out a win, 131.4 to 127.2. Lee's looked very strong in the last month, putting up at least 122 points in every matchup, still going 2-2 though during that time. Not such great luck. Brandon's has maybe a little bit better month, going 3-1 with 3 games over 129 points in that month. Since we now know who's in and who's out for the playoffs this year, I figured I'd take an informal poll. Who do you got to win it all? Who's going to be the deuce? Text me, email me, leave a comment on the video. Let me know, and I'll talk about the results next week and see if any popular picks have already been eliminated. A playoff reminder, this is the first year that we have playoff reseeding enabled, so that the higher seed will always be playing the lowest remaining seed available in their region. I will have to manually advance the losers in the deuce bracket on Tuesday morning so that the 2 buys will be facing the correct team in that bracket. And finally, for Wager Roundup, since it's late, at least what it was when I was writing this, nothing major has changed in the wagers. Cleveland and Pittsburgh are neck and neck to figure out who's going to be the first runner-up to Baltimore in the AFC North, which is going to nullify Pulp 1.0's and my wager. I didn't even look up Jake Kumerow and Randall Cobb's stats this week. Kumerow still sucks worse than Cobb, and Kumerow's not going to catch 30 balls over the next 3 or 4 weeks to catch Cobb, unless I manage to jinx the hell out of that one, just like my other sure win that was going to happen. Also, there was a new wager. I did win a 6-pack of beer from Nick by correctly banking on Dallas to shit the bed versus Buffalo on Thanksgiving. One final reminder, a snapshot of team rosters will be taken on Monday night next week once all games have been started. Anyone not on your roster at that time will not be eligible to be kept. Eliminated teams will be locked from player ads on Tuesday morning as well. Thanks for watching the final regular season recap of Season 8. We'll talk to you again after Week 14 for the playoff semifinal preview. Thanks.